Welcome to EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. This podcast is about all things production for the people in front of the camera or behind the camera. Let's join Reggie right now for the discussion.
Hey everybody, I'm having a conversation with another good friend of mine, Vince, and we've been knowing each other for quite a while. Actually, Vince and I met at one church that I went and did a site survey with, but my memory for people and names, when you meet a lot of people, I do remember when we met the second time, but before I met him, I said, I wonder if I know this guy. And then when he came in and I introduced myself, he said, well, Reggie, I know you. And I thought, okay, here we go again. But Vince and I have been knowing each other for a few years, been working together. He's a really cool guy. I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for you because of where you worked. One place that we worked that we have in common. And I gained a whole lot of respect
to be able to survive that environment.
But Vince is a producer, director, writer.
Yes, voice talent, production company owner, editor. Every aspect of production. I'm not a master at everything, but I have enough knowledge to be a better producer.
Yeah. Now, one thing that really impressed me, now, you and I pick on each other. We pick at each other. We've been in this, and one thing I know about production is it's so high pressure that you have to have a sense of humor and you have to have a good time doing it, or it will burn you out.
Yeah.
But you did an event outside of work, and you were the MC, and I told you about this. You did. I was so impressed with your comedy, but then your sensitivity, and it was like respect, but it was still comedy, and it was really funny stuff. And I even told you, I was like, you know what? Well, if I had a home going, I would tell them, call Vince. Because it's just you came across and you made the thing so nice and so light and enjoyable.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned about the home going, because I had my oldest sister passed 2007, and of course I got up to represent the family. Because everybody kind of knows my personality. It's like, okay, you go speak for the family. So I got up and, I said, kind of started out, saying some things, whatever. And when my sister passed, first of all, she had narcolepsy, and she had it in the worst way. And she took a lot of medications for other health issues, but she would fall asleep at the drop of a hat. She could have a full night's rest. I would go pick her up, take her grocery shopping because she couldn't drive. And I would arrive. She just got ready for the day. She'd come down the stairs, get into the car, and before we get to the stop sign at the end of her street, she'd be asleep. That's how bad it was. So I give you that backdrop to say, at her funeral, I was explaining how the day that we found her, and they were coming to pick her body up, and she was laid across the bed. It looked like she was sleeping, which was a position I was familiar seeing her in. I was making light of that. And so, I ended up saying, I imagine that the Lord tapped her on her shoulder and said, hey, it's time for you to come home. And she turned to the Lord and said, all right, Lord, but give me about 15, 20 more minutes. Let me get this last little nap before I go on to glory, because I got to get it in. And the place erupted, and the pastor of the church where I was going, who was there supporting me, he said, "Listen, when I go, I want you to eulogize me."
And that's the thing, because it's such a traumatic and hard time, and that's like one of the worst days.
Yeah.
And to have somebody come in,
you need to lighten it up to
because you need to laugh. Laughter is good for you. Like we were talking. I remember one time I was talking to you, and it was like, production, whether it's film, video, music production, whatever, is such a high. The pressure can be so great because you want to put your best foot forward.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. Nobody wants to do a bad job.
Right.
And you have to hold back, you know, and you know, and so laughter, like the funniest stories and the funniest jokes I have heard was on a production set.
Well,
you know,
there are three things that that I implement to relieve that stress. And of course, there's no perfect science, but I will say that I have less experiences like that than probably the average person. Here's why. I say there's three things. One is proper preparation. Be sure is something that I adopted from a gentleman that I worked with at that same place where we worked together. Or you were volunteering, I was working. We were all working, but you know what I'm saying.
I get it.
But I credit him every time I talk about this. He had it laminated. He was an audio guy, and he had this laminated, these two words laminated on his console, and said, "Be sure." And he taught me what that meant. And it's more than, I mean, it includes, you know, checking off your list to make sure you got all the equipment, but it's about being early. It's about making sure that, you know, everything's working, the batteries are changed. When you get on set, you know, there's just a litany of things that Be Sure covers. So that's one thing, being sure. The second thing, not necessarily in this order, is when I'm consulting with my client, I'm making sure that what they expect is what we can deliver. I'm never just taking a job just because I want the money and like, we'll figure it out. No. I've had guys.
That's a mess.
I've had guys say that to me, like, "Oh man, we'll figure it out." No, I want it figured out, and when I go in there, I go in there confident. So that's the second thing that helps relieve stress. So being sure, being prepared, and then also knowing that I have not taken off more than I can chew. I have the right people in place to do everything we need to do. And then the third thing is what you alluded to, and that is keeping the mood light. You know, I'm working with people. We have a good communication. I know they know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. We're having fun while we're setting up. We're talking, we're cracking jokes. And so all of those things help to, you know, relieve the stress, the mind. And so if you're prepared, man, there's not, what is there to stress about? You know what I mean? I mean, this is an off the top of my head example, but if you're going in the kitchen to cook yourself a burger, you're not stressing. Why? Because you know exactly how to handle that fire.
Well, maybe not me. I don't.
Right.
But, you know,
but the point is that you know exactly what you're doing, and you have no fear or concern that things are going. You're not going to burn the kitchen down.
Like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Well, yeah, that's probably better for you. Yeah.
But okay, but now speaking of production and stuff, you talked about being prepared. What was the one that didn't work? The one that's quicksand. Yeah,
so I'll tell people this in a heartbeat, that when I'm sharing my experiences with people or telling them or teaching them or training them, what have you, it's not because I'm so brilliant. It's because I've messed it up enough time to know, don't do that. You know, I could pick from a few examples. One that stands out actually was more recent, and this is a mistake that I should have known better. So basically, what the mistake is you have a client and the signs are up, right? The flags are there.
Red flags.
Red flags are there, and they're saying, well, can we cut the price back? Or what if we take this off and all that? And so at this point, they're pretty much committed to you, and they're in the last hour trying to get the price down. And so in my situation, they had this event, they had these sponsors, and everybody was coming, supposed to be a big deal. And this was a live event production. We had a lot going on, right? Meaning we had an LED wall up, we had a dancer that was going to be on this part of the stage area. We had the main stage here. She was going to be over here. So I put two speakers over there. We had the speakers for everybody else over here. We were recording.
Wow, this was pretty big.
Yeah. We were recording, and we were recording to different devices, right? So we're recording the cameras, we're recording audio to another device, and then the main speaker, the keynote speaker, she brought her own camera person, and he wanted audio, so he wanted aux feed. So these aren't complicated things.
No.
What I'm saying is that we had a lot going on.
You got a lot of logistics.
And typically, my role as the producer, even though they had a producer of the event, but I'm bringing all my people.
Right.
So it's to step back. Let my audio guy handle his thing, my camera guys, my director, LED wall people, all of that, let them, and I'm overseeing to make sure my client is getting what they want. Well, because they wanted to cut back so much, I said, okay, well, I happen to be a certified audio recording engineer, which is one of the things I said, I do in production. And I said, well, I'm going to eliminate the audio guy. I'll run the audio.
Right.
And so now I'm focused on audio going over here, over there, this recording, that recording, and to the LED wall because we're playing videos. So I got 4 or 5 different areas. And in order to do things at the right time, I have to turn certain things down. And I'm trying to make sure everybody's doing, and things were missed. And so what happened was we ended up, some of the recording got messed up. Some of the, we had issue with some other equipment because I wasn't there to oversee it and prepare, make sure. So the moral to that particular story is never compromise what you need to do a great job, no matter what the client's saying, because they're not the expert. And so when she kept trying to get that price down, I should have said, I can't go any lower than this because I have to have all my people in place in order to do it. And that turned out ugly because she was like, we had a couple hiccups. How many shows you've been to where the mic goes out, you just got to, you run up and you hand another one. So we did that once. And then we had a break and the system kind of went to sleep. So when it came back up, we had a couple videos that was lagging and before everything got caught up. So she was like, oh, I didn't have a good show, so I'm not going to pay you the rest of your money. And I knew she didn't have the money in the first place. That's why she kept, violating our agreement in the first place.
One thing too, but see, now here's one thing that I didn't learn this. I didn't come to this conclusion until maybe 20 years into my career. But you are worth what you charge. I'm not talking about everybody, but see, like what you just described to me, what you had to do, you're worth what you charge. When like I used to do, I had Ford as a client. So you didn't go in Ford, messing around. So I was hiring guys. I had been in production like maybe 8 or 10 years. I was hiring guys that had been doing it 30 years and lighting guys so that, I learned lighting, or I learned what was good lit by hiring guys that did it good.
Right.
And so they came in with their price, and I was like, okay, because I don't light. I still don't light. I don't like lighting. So I brought them in to, like you said, let them handle their job. I hired audio guys, let them do their job. And when you bring in that level of professionalism in and quality to give somebody something that you go beyond their expectations, then you're worth what you charge. And then when you start skimping, now I had a guy, he wanted, he was doing a business training convention for a whole week. And he wanted 5 camera shoot, everything lit. He wanted 50, this was back when VHS, he wanted 50 VHS tapes immediately after each, meeting. And, all this other stuff. And I gave him the price. Well, I'll tell you, the price was $15,000 for a week. Bring it in, but it would have been tight. It would have been what he wanted more than what, but it would be more than what he expected. So I gave him my demo tape, and he was looking at it, and he called me, and he said, I got somebody to do it for $1,500. So I said, so my reply was, can I come pick up my demo tape? Yeah. I didn't try to explain it. I went and picked it up. He said, I got guys that are coming in with 5 cameras or whatever. And I said, okay, well, thank you. And so now there were some people that knew me, that knew I had bid on
what you were going to do.
What they showed up with was 5 home VHS cameras.
Of course.
And they said it was a disaster. I said, I know.
You don't get what you pay for.
I told him, I said, I know, but see, there comes a time when it's like, okay,
don't argue.
If you call if you call a professional and they tell you this is what it takes to get your professional production done, and then you're gonna come with somebody. Okay, first of all, you should have known 15,000, 1,500. I'd have thought, well, let me just ask them what they're gonna do. But see, they told them, and it was a disaster.
Well, the thing is that as the professional, we have to understand, and I had to learn this over time, everybody who has a project and money is not a good fit. I may not be a good fit for them. They may not be a good fit for me.
Yeah.
So part of that consultation process is not necessarily me trying to sell them on me. It's also me learning to see if this is going to be a good fit. Are you going to be a problem? You know, and what I mean by that is the obvious.
What you mean, but yeah.
Because, and here's what I've learned. The ones who pay the least work you the hardest.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's a mentality of value, right? What, do they value it? So the person that you described, he doesn't value it at $15,000, and that's fine. That's just an issue of education. Now there are some who they just can't afford it, and that's fine too. So it's not personal; it's business.
Yeah.
And what my wife often says is, if you're going to give me a headache, then you have to pay for the Excedrin. Right? So, I think that's another lesson that people need to understand if you're new to the business, or, you know, even if you're not new to the business, that you put that into practice. You need to be evaluating whether this is a good client for you.
You know, what my former business partner and I, what we came to, we said, when you don't charge, when you give somebody a deal, be prepared to work really hard. Because first of all, you're trying to make something work anyway, and then it's like we say, they want the world for $1.50.
I used to, many years ago, I would literally argue. I mean, it was personal with people because the problem was, and then sometimes it was personal relationships.
Yeah.
You know, that I would get into. Mostly I would get in those discussions with. It was with strangers too.
Yeah.
But what it was is, from my perspective, I felt very offended and just upset by the fact that you want me to do all these things, and I'm thinking about what it's going to take for me to do all of this, but then you want to pay me this little bit of money. And then I had a real quick story. I had a lady, she was a real estate agent. She had owned a real estate company. And I think it was in Southfield too. And she wanted a television commercial. Now we're talking. I got one
for you after you get.
Yeah. We're talking, probably well over 10 years ago. Matter of fact, I'm sure it was over 10 years ago. So probably more like 15 years ago. And she wanted a 30-second commercial. She wanted to put this on television. So I went to her place to talk to her about it. And I walked in, and she had a nice office. She was leasing or renting, whatever. I think it was in Southfield.
Yeah.
And she, had this nice conference center. We went in, sat down, talked. And I told her, I said, now, you'll know these prices is not exorbitant at all. I explained to her how we would do the commercial, and I charged her, I believe the number was like $3,200. Now, for those who know anything about the business, like, that's a pretty low.
Oh, yeah, that's low.
Basic commercial. Like, we're going to come out with one camera. You're going to talk. I'm going to put up some text on the screen, and we're going to be done in a voiceover and a little royalty-free music.
Yeah.
And maybe shoot something at her place of business. Anyway, man, you would have thought I told her the price was going to be $80,000.
Really?
She all but cussed me and called me everything but a child of God. She said, "Oh, you came in here and saw this place and just assumed we was rich and I had all this money, $3,200. And I said, here's what I'll say to you. I told her, first of all, it was not an exorbitant price. Secondly, if you find someone to do it for significantly less, I said, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm asking you to please give me their information, because I will subcontract them to go and do work. If their work is up to par like mine, I did put that stipulation. Because she saw my demo. I said, if their work is up to par like mine, I'm begging you.
Oh, yeah.
I want to work with them, Because if they can do it at a price that's way less than mine, I'll hire them to do work for me because I'll keep charging my price. I didn't say that, but yeah, man, they're not educated. They don't know, what it should cost.
Well, we had a guy, he wanted to do a PSA. And what the PSA was, I'll just give you the visual part. It was some people riding in a convertible. They go past a billboard, and the billboard says, "Smile, Jesus loves you," and then they drive into a bright light. Okay. We told them, okay, we'd have to find out, what it costs to, rent the billboard, or at least set up something that would be a billboard or whatever. And we came up with something like, maybe 15, well, no, we came about $2,500. And we showed him our demo. We took equipment. Now, we took equipment and set up and played a demo because he didn't have any way to play it back. He said, "Well, I'm paying $300," and sat back in the chair. He said, "All I'm paying is $300." We said, "Okay," and we just started packing up because there's no more conversation.
Right.
He said he's paying $300. We started packing up, and then he said, so I guess since we stopped talking to him, he said, well, do you think I'll be able to find somebody? And I said, probably not.
Not for $300.
And and the thing about it, that mentality. See, here's an issue that you and I have, and anybody else who's doing real professional quality work. I have a saying that says we're in an industry that is not representative of the effort that goes into it, because they see the final final product.
Mm-hmm.
So they think, well, you're just going to show up with one camera, and that one camera is going to give you your audio and your lights and all your different angles and all that stuff. And because when we give that client that final product, if they weren't there to see it done, you'll even give them say, "Well, I paid all that for a 30-second spot."
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had pyrotechnics and a helicopter and all that
Right,
stuff,
right.
But it's just kind of interesting, the industry, and I tell you, I love it. I've been doing this as of April 22nd. I've been doing it 43 years.
Man, you old. Oh, I'm sorry. Did that come out? That's like Kevin Hart when he was interviewing Don Cheadle. And he said, "Yeah, I'll be such and such." He was like, "Bam."
But anyway, but my point is, I enjoy it so much. I feel like I'm just still getting started.
Yeah.
You and I have talked. I was like, "Well, man, call me for some stuff. I'm available," because I enjoy production. I have fun. When I first got into it, I didn't tell anybody what I did. They said, "What do you do?" I said, "I just work," because I was having so much fun. I said, now this is before I knew it paid. I thought it paid like, $5. At the time, minimum wage was like $5 an hour. But I figured they would find out how much fun I was having, and they would want to do it. So I wouldn't tell them what I did.
That was your thought? That was your mentality?
Because it was so much fun. I have shot somebody behind a podium and just standing there talking for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I got done, and the guy that hired me, I said, "Boy, this was fun."
Mm.
He was like, "No, when it was boring." I said, "No, but we're doing production because I enjoy production."
Right.
So
which is interesting because I have branded myself as Vince Elliott, the production addict. When it comes to production, I got to have it. And so that is not, as catchy as that may sound, there's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, yeah.
When I was working for someone else, the feeling of I have to go to work versus when I work for myself, it's a totally different mindset. I used to, when I was working, for, these, corporates and things like that, and I wasn't doing production, even if I was doing production, the fact is that I would look forward to the weekend, or when I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
When I started working for myself, and this is no exaggeration, I used to really dread Fridays.
I know where you're going. I already get it.
Because it's like, man, I can't get into, unless I had a gig or something on the weekend.
Right.
But I can't get back on those phones and engage and get out there and do more things because
everybody else is off work.
Everybody's off work. And I'm like, man, I can't wait till Monday. And I can tell you, having been in this business, I think the first time I did anything in terms of anything with production, I always date back to 1988. So yeah, that's.
What were you, like 2 or 3 years old?
Yeah, well, I graduated from high school in '85. I know you graduated.
We don't have to talk about that.
But yeah, so that's what 25, 35. Oh, I'm sorry, 25, 30.
It's a ways.
That's plus 7. That's 37 years. Yeah, and I can tell you, to this day, if I sit in my office, I got a home office. If I'm sitting at my desk and literally it takes about a week. If I haven't done any real production in a week.
Oh man, I already know.
Oh my goodness, man, I'm having withdrawal.
We had a job. Ford called us in Monday and said, we need you to produce 20 videos for a meeting that we have next week in Spain. We're leaving Saturday. So no script, no nothing. Monday afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon, they told us what they wanted. We didn't even talk price. We got to work. During the middle of the week, I had to lean against the wall because the floor was doing like this under me. But I tell you, Friday night, they went home with all 20 videos.
Wow.
I was worn out. I slept Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I was like, okay,
let's go.
Where's the next job? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
So, but I love what I do. And see, just talking to you, I know you do too.
Oh man, I'm passionate about it. I love it.
But and listen, everybody, we're gonna continue this conversation in the next video because we have more to do. And Vince and I, we were really serious because we really kind of go at each other. But
it's all
what I like to say is, if you're interested in coming on and having a conversation, you can reach out to me. You can send me a message on the Facebook, on this Facebook page. Also, if people are interested in wanting to see the podcast, they don't have to have a Facebook account. All they have to do is type in EMERJ.tv, EMERJ.tv in any browser. It'll bring them right to the podcast. But this is a good conversation. I'm looking forward to talking to you some more. And also, for those of you who haven't reached out yet, who I know who are in production, don't worry, I'm coming. But in the meantime, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. Join us next time for more discussions on all things production. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.